super nice. Nice little area.
Can't relate, guys. Cannot relate.
Over there in Phoenix, enjoying your nice weather all year round, whatever.
Hey, it's hot right now, so we don't talk about Phoenix when it's hot. We only talk about it when it's not, so that everybody.
Can you fry an egg on the sidewalk yet?
Not yet. It's just hitting the triple, so it's probably 100 today.
Are you serious?
Ooh, at least it's dry.
Yeah. That's everybody.
It's dry is better.
Yeah, today's supposed to be
100.
too.
Ooh, how hot does it get there? What's the hottest?
The hottest I've paid attention to. It's gotten to 116 before.
Oh god.
116.
You just go inside. It's like being in Missouri in
go
the
inside.
negatives. It's the
I
negative
feel like
side.
at 116, the inside would be hot too.
No, you have.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Air conditioning.
No, you're living in an oven.
Oh, them air conditioners are gonna be hot.
Yeah. You'd have to have your air conditioning on 40. That's what
put on 70.
Overtime.
You good. Your bill might be high, but it's high for a couple days and then you move on. It's the same thing as y'all. It's the same thing. You were negative 15.
Okay.
We don't get to negative 15.
Negative.
I think the lowest it's been is 0, I think.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it gets a little low. Sometimes it gets, but that's rare.
I was about to say, yeah, the lowest I think we've had so far this year was 14.
Yeah, it's a cool 67 today.
Yeah, we have all the windows open.
See the way he said that? It's
it's good. With sunny.
And sunny. That's the important part.
Yeah.
St. Louis hasn't seen sun in a couple of days.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Hi. Welcome.
Yo.
I'm already pushed record, so we can just go.
This is nice break out of my day. Pretty busy today, so this is nice.
Awesome.
No worries.
Well, we don't want to take up too much of your time because we know you are a busy human. We're just gonna jump into it then. Cam, do you want me to do are we still doing the intro? Did we decide we're still doing that?
Yeah, but you don't have to wait. You could just start at the beginning and then we can just start after that. Okay,
cool. Okay, so let me blah 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 blah. One note.
Jessa keeps trying to give this intro up. I'm like, you're not giving the intro up.
I feel I have feelings. No, I'm just I don't want it to sound corny. I love it because I know it explains what we do. I just don't know if it's goofy, saying it every single time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but someone might be new and never seen your podcast before.
That's true. You're right. You're true. All right. Okay. Okay. Let me find my. I do this every time. I'm sorry. Okay. Wisdom by Design. Jessa's script. Okay. All right. What is up, dropouts? Welcome home. We are on season 2. Cam, what episode is this?
5.
You sounded really assured, so we're gonna keep going.
We are. 5.
You think it's 5? It might be 5.
It's 5.
Okay. All right. We're on season 2, episode 5, and we're super excited you guys are here. We are a podcast for the creative looking to enrich their life with knowledge. We won't be giving you 3 ways to get rich quick. We're not one of those weirdos, you guys. We are for the college avoider, the corporate dropout, the person burning the midnight oil on their next big project. So literally every single person in this room, basically. Yeah. Cool. We are here to talk with you, offer up the processes that work for us in our business, and to be real about the ones that don't. This might be your new fave podcast, but we're probably pretty biased. So my name's Jessa.
And I am Cameron. And today we have a guest named Marco. How's it going, Marco?
It's good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we have known Marco since what? I've known you since at least high school. Probably before that. Yeah. But we've known Marco since we went to high school with Marco, and I think middle school. I think we went to middle school together too. And I went to the same church with Marco. So yeah. So I've known Marco for a while, and I've been kind of watching his trajectory and the things he's been doing, and it's been killer. And we kind of wanted to bring him on and kind of let you guys get to know him a little bit more. I feel like he's one of those that is like, I'm pure creative. I'm mysterious. I hide behind the shadows. But we wanted to be the first to present Marco to the world. So
yeah. Okay, go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit about like who you are and what you do.
Sorry, my dog is down here too. You can't see him, but he's trying to get some attention.
It's totally
my name is Marco Cheatham. I'm an illustrator, sometimes animation, but I work a lot in animation and I do a lot of art direction and things like that. And I've been doing that for the last like 6-7 years. And I'm based in St. Louis and just I recently went freelance and like the last couple years. So yeah, that's me. You said what?
What were you doing before that?
So I was working at a video production house here in St. Louis called Align Media, and I worked there for 4 years. 4 years before. Yeah, I think it was 4 years. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Dang. You got that job? Did you go to school for this, like college?
No, sort of kind of. So I went to UMSL, which is a school here and in St. Louis, and I went for graphic design, and I studied graphic design. And some of the courses that I took, they had motion design courses and stuff. So I kind of just started discovering that during school and stuff like that. I took a couple of courses. None of us really knew what we were doing at the time, and like the teachers really either. We were just trying to kind of learn it. So it was great that she one of my teachers like really was pushing it, and she didn't know a lot about it, but she liked it and thought it'd be something to share with everyone. So it kind of got me into it, and that's kind of where my path into motion began.
Got you. So you went from there into that first job, right? No,
so I worked my senior year in college. I worked at a small marketing studio. And I worked there a little bit after school. And then after that, I went to another, like a branding agency here locally. And I did that for a little bit. And then after that is when I got the video production job, which was like more focused on doing like illustration for animation, which is what I was really trying to get into.
Awesome. That's really when did you decide to go out on your own?
So that's an interesting story. I mean, it wasn't necessarily like a decision, as more of like something that kind of happened, it was, I'd like played with the idea of like going freelance. And I think that a lot of it was like, I was just kind of scared about doing it. I was like, oh, I'll do this, or I'll wait and maybe figure something out first. It was just kind of this thing, like not having like the security of a job was really something that weighed on me and kind of like didn't let me do it. So like, but I took a leap of faith.
Say that louder for the people in the back.
I took a leap of faith. You're right. So I think the thing was, I was working at my job and I wanted to get more. So like we did video production, and I wanted to get more into just the animation side of things, just like pure illustration and animation. And there's a studio that I really admired, and I was trying to work there out in LA, and they brought me on, or they wanted me to do like an internship, not internship, but a freelance thing for like a 3 weeks before they, brought me on full time. And this is like, just to put some context, because this was like in January of last year. Okay. So like when this was happening. So like, yeah, so it's been like a little over a year. So this was like January when this was happening. And so the pandemic stuff was starting to like, people didn't really know what it was at the time. So it wasn't really like, people were like, I don't know what's going on. So it was kind of that moment. And so like, there was this opportunity I wanted to take, but I knew that if I took it, I'd have to quit my job. And I just kind of weighed my options, like, well, this is kind of what I should do, I think. So I decided like, well, I'm gonna go out to LA for 3 weeks and try to make this work. And the last day of the freelance thing was like the last day anyone there was in the office after the 3 weeks.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Holy, they haven't been to the office since. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was pretty. I don't know. Like, I was a little worried about other things at the time, so I wasn't like super. I was trying to figure stuff out. I came back. I was expecting like I was gonna get an offer then and like work there, like move, fairly quickly, and that's what I was assuming. But then they were trying to figure stuff out, so I had to come back home, and I started like freelancing for a little bit. I had some friends that were like had some connections, and they were like getting me on some jobs. So I discovered that, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this. I don't really think I want to work at a studio at the time. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep doing this. So that's kind of what happened, and it was at a weird time where no one was doing video and everyone wanted animation. And so like there was just so much work out there that, it kind of just took off immediately. And there was no easing into the process. So
yeah,
it's like the perfect storm. Like that's
it's kind of what it was, and it was like I took that risk knowing that it might not pan out, and it didn't pan out the way that I intended it to pan out. But in the end, I think that it put me in a better position than I would have been if, otherwise, because I don't think I would have done that if in any other situation.
I feel like every single person we have talked to on this podcast so far, like they've never really had a specific plan. It was just that an opportunity presented itself, whether they wanted it or not, and they just went for it. Like, nobody had a roadmap. There's like no special way to know when to do it and when not to. And like Kam lost his job. Like, to expect. And then like with you, the studio, the whole world shut down. Like, everybody just kind of had to go, okay. So it's more so just being brave enough to take that and run with it.
Yeah. And then it's also like, I feel like it's one of those things where we all had to stop. So the whole like pandemic situation made us all stop and sit, and we're like, I don't know what is going forward, but I know I didn't like what was back there.
Yeah.
let me give it a shot somewhere else, and let me put it into my own hands and see where I can go with it. So I always commend, I've seen a lot of people, our generation, just having to do that. And I commend every one of us for stepping up, because we all could have slouched back and said, nah, I'm just going to go and do what my parents did and kind of give up on this idea. And then we all don't really move forward. But I think what we're doing right now is setting the grounds for moving our country and the world probably forward into a better direction. So. Which is crazy.
So is animation what you've always wanted to do? Like, what did you want to do when you grew up? Like, what did you think your plan was?
I mean, definitely not anime. I didn't even know what animation was, really.
Really?
It took me a couple, like, I don't even know. I don't even know if I want to say like a couple years. It could have been like a couple years where I really understood like what, because a lot of times now I tell people, it's really hard to explain what I do to begin with, but like, now when I tell someone I do like animation, they immediately think like Disney or Pixar and stuff like that. I'm like, I ain't doing that. No, I'm not doing that. So, and honestly, I don't really animate that much. So it's a it's an interesting thing. But I think growing up, I was really into like drawing and things. I liked art and stuff like that. And I think when I got to like high school, we had the technical school. I don't remember what it was called, but we had that, and they had graphic design there, and I was like, I'm gonna take this. And partly because I was like, it's like drawing, but then I was like, I can get like, I think a couple hours out of school. Like I get out of school, I gotta I gotta take regular classes.
2 hours, I can do what? Like what year did you graduate?
2008.
Oh, so you graduated with Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Oh wait, when did you? Oh.
I didn't graduate till 2011. I remember.
11.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You, but I was like, I thought you were older than us. Yeah, you graduated with Antonio Rodriguez. That's
I'm old, yeah.
You guys are old, yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm feeling it.
That's so crazy.
But I feel like you have a very unique style. Where do you feel like that came from? Like,
that's a good question.
I said good question, Kam. Yeah, because your style is really freaking cool. So we would love to know like what inspires that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of, obviously, I think the client work that I do is that's part of it. I think that there's different styles that go through. You know, I don't ever want to say like my style is like, I don't know, I always see it as like, this is what I'm doing right now. It's always evolving. I'm taking inspiration from other people are taking inspiration. It's like a collective type thing, you know, everyone's kind of like taking parts of other people's things and like changing it and evolving it and things like that. And I think with me, I think my path was I was doing graphic design stuff, and I always thought of myself as a graphic designer up until like a few years ago, where I was just like, I might draw some things. I didn't really draw that much. I always was just in like Illustrator. I didn't really use Photoshop that much. And I'm just like with my pen tool, just like drawing, like moving the stuff around. And I realized like, I kind of like illustration, and all the people that I really like are like illustrators. And I kind of see like they all have like distinct styles and things like that. And so I just took some time to really, really like focus on like what I kind of liked, and actually started drawing things, because once you start like drawing stuff and, you know, sketching things out, it just feels different. And, you know, I started like, after a while, I was like, okay, I'm an illustrator. This is what I'm doing. And once I had that focus, it kind of just, you know, pinpointed itself, you know, it's almost like a machine, right? It's like, I have something that I'm like moving towards, like this is the target, like it was kind of like that. So it never really felt like I was spinning my wheels. It was just like trying to figure it out, you know, and had like, this is where I want to be with it, you know?
Yeah. You've like, I'm looking through your feed right now, and you just have like all of these really bold, beautiful colors. You have all these they're simple shapes. They're like ornate at the same time. So it's very easy to understand. It's very easy on the eye, but then you look into it and you're like, oh, look at those details. Like,
it's on purpose. Like, yeah, it's the simplicity, but it's on purpose. It's a great fine line to walk. Like a lot of good graphic designers can walk that line between, oh, this is simple, understandable, digestible, but it's on purpose, complex, and it works.
It's still very bold, very like eye-catching. Like this is, I mean, are there artists that kind of like, I mean, okay, so when your clients come to you, I mean, they expect this style of work, right? Like this is kind of like your genre, like this is where you stay in? Or do you try, I know you said you try to play with it a little bit.
So, I mean, that's kind of where like the like, I keep saying like, it's like a double-edged sword in a sense, you know, like I don't want to get like too complacent and like too like doing the same thing over and over again. And it took me a little while to get there. And I think that like doing something repetitively over and over again is going to make you better at doing it instead of like just going all over the place. So, I mean, I think recently, you know, within the last year, I've been really trying to like figure out ways to like branch out of that and try to do a little bit more interesting things, more than what I usually do. I mean, I think a piece that I did recently with a group was that Walt piece, the basketball piece. And I think that was a little different. It pushed me out of my element. It was a little bit more realistic, but still playful. So it was like a little bit of a challenge, but it was also, you said what?
Sorry, I'm looking at it like, wow. Like, yeah, I can see like there's a lot more detail in this one.
Yeah, it's still like playful and things like that, and still simple, but there's a lot more I don't know, realisticness about it.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that was one that I really liked doing, because I was like, oh, it pushed me to like do something a little bit different, and that's where I'm really trying to go. But yeah, a lot of clients want me to like do the same old thing, but I get it to a certain degree, because a lot of times, you know, if you're working with a bigger studio or bigger company and they need to like reach a, you know, a wide range, it's just it's a digestible thing, right? It's easy to read, it's easy to understand, it's that kind of stuff. So
We're definitely gonna link this. We're gonna link this for our viewers because this is a really cool. Like I'm watching the animation and I'm like, I can't take my eyes off. It's really neat.
Okay.
I can't like that was a whole team. It wasn't just me on that. So that was a big team.
Really?
Yeah. So old Gunner, you check them out if you haven't heard of them.
Okay.
You said it was Gunner.
Gunner.
Okay.
Yeah, something that you brought up that I've been toying with the idea since I started doing this was a lot of people are like, well, you should just niche down into this thing that you really want to explore. But I see people niche down and then they're kind of end up stuck in the bottom of that hole where it's like they want to do other things and then you get stuck in the bottom of that hole and that's where burnout comes from. And then you're kind of like, well, how do I get out of this? But like you're saying, where you're actively looking to change up is a great way to kind of stay out of that hole. And that's why I love branding so much, because I get to play different looks. I don't have to be the same look. If I'm working with a toothpaste company compared to an alcohol company, I can do whatever needs to happen in that artistic direction. And that's one of the reasons that I've done it. But yeah, to look to push the boundary on your next project is always probably the best way to put it and the best way to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, man. The whole branding thing. That's. I did that for a little bit.
Okay.
I did that for a little bit, and man, it wasn't my thing. It's tough, man. I think one of the things for me that it's like something you have to think of over. Like a lot of stuff I do now is like, it doesn't have to live up like for years and years. It doesn't have to be something that's gonna like push a brand like and be a voice for it in a sense. It's just a part of it. And I think when you're working with like branding and stuff like that, you have to be so like forward thinking that it becomes a real challenge.
I got something for you though. Yeah. It's not as forward thinking as you think, because the way that I think about it is, if you think about it in that big of a scape, like you think about it in that big of a scope, of course it's like overwhelming. But when you think about it as like, who is this business right now? And are they being who they want to be? And who do they want to be? And we stick to that idea, then create a brand for right now and they live up to that idea, then they don't have to worry about it growing into this big thing, because they're being true to themselves today and true to themselves 50 years from now. And that's how a real brand does it. Which it's overwhelming. It can be overwhelming to even think of that. Like, how do you represent somebody?
Logos and stuff are going to change, obviously. Like we've seen some of our favorite iconic logos change multiple times.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like I definitely get what you're saying, but it's a whole.
There's strategy.
It's a whole strategy.
Like I know you're depicting a who someone is or who a particular company is. And I think that in and of itself is a challenge. It's like, how do you represent that in a way that's gonna be true to them and like live up to like where they see themselves, or and that kind of thing, and make sure that it's right for that particular thing.
A lot of soul searching. You gotta
have a lot of questions.
We gotta be honest. We have to tell the truth, because a lot of these people ain't telling the truth, and that's why they have to go through so many flips. Because they
don't know who they are. You gotta like figure that. That's why you gotta figure that out as well.
That's why Cameron's like, I'm never starting with brand new companies, because
it's hard.
I made that mistake of trying to work with brand new companies, and half the time you're right. Like they literally don't know who they are, why they like. You literally have to start down. Okay, well, why did you start doing this? Well, I like making cookies. Well, why do you like making cookies? Yeah. Well, they make me feel good.
Yeah.
Why does it make you feel like?
It seems like something you think that would be so like innate, like they would, but like. I realized that like I've been trained to like think through these things, and a lot of people have not. So like it doesn't seem like it's not just like, oh, I need to be thinking about this.
And we don't talk about it. We just see successful businesses and they're like, we're a success. Look at us. We're Apple. Look at us. We're Nike. And they're not what the keys are to get there.
How did you get there? How did you?
Or I mean, I think a lot of companies, they just like, it's always like the last thing they think about, especially when they first start out. And I'm like, if you invest like early on and like figure that stuff out sooner, and like actually put that money in there and that be a part of your, you know, where a lot of your investment goes, then you'd be in a better place in the future. You don't have to like worry about, I got to rebrand down the road like a couple years later. You know?
Oh, and that's literally me, because when I started my photography business, I was not thinking anything about branding. I was like, oh, cool, I got a logo, slap it on there, let's go take some pictures. And here I am 12 years later going, shit, what am I doing? I need to fix this. Like
there's a little bit of like, you don't know, and then there's a little bit of fear to succeed.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
To put that money in that investment,
it's a risk. It's risky.
Well, yeah. And like one of my favorite things, I was listening to a conversation the other day between two photographers, and they were like, how are you going to expect people to invest in you when you don't invest in yourself? 100. Like if you're not willing to put in the work to get the camera, to get the gear, to get the logo, like if you're not willing to do those things, or even just fly yourself out to a different state to do the photography that you want, like you have to create the things that you want or people aren't going to come to you. So I was like, that floored me. I was like, holy cow. Like if I would have learned that 12 years ago, it would have been another story. Because as a brand new business, you're like, oh, I want to save money. You know, I don't want a whole lot of overhead, things like that, which I get. That's how I started. But I wish that I would have understood the importance of investing in myself earlier on, instead of like figuring it out a couple of years later going, oh crap, well now now I got to do
at least you figured it out. That's the
thank Cameron.
Thank being laid off. Thank you.
Thank being laid off. Yeah, that's true.
I've been thinking about this a lot. So,
man.
I know one thing that I'm always curious about is when you talk about people who do influence your art, who are some of them?
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's easier to say like studios and things like that. I think I have a group of friends here that have been really impactful, and you know, and they're you said what?
We love to hear that.
yeah. I mean, I feel like they were always like a step ahead of me, and I always like looked at them for like advice and things like that, and they become really good friends of mine. They're like both animators and things like that. And shout out to Preston Gibson and Alex Deaton.
Awesome. I was literally one of our questions. So good, keep going.
Yeah, so they're just really good animators, and you know, I've always like looked up to them, and you know, they've definitely like helped me like figure some things out. But you know, I think a lot of my inspiration came from a lot of studios from previously. I just, you know, like Buck, you know, they were like really influential. They're like the OG like motion studio out in LA. That's then we have like, you know, Giant Ant. That was like my first intro into like animation. You know, I saw this piece from them. It's like a Tom's piece, the shoes, and it's like so good. And I was like, oh man, this is what people can do with this. And it was really like, how do you do this? Like, how are people, like, it seems like impossible that people can make stuff like this. That's kind of what it was. And you know, like people like Jorge, which he worked there previously, and he became like one of my like big inspiration, Jorge Estrada. And you know, there's just tons. I mean, the list goes on. I could give you a whole list of like also Gunner's another one. Like the studio I did the wall piece, they're like super dope. And out of Detroit, I think that was like one of the things that was really impactful for me, is like knowing that a top studio like that was coming out of Detroit, you know, because I think there's parallels between like St. Louis and Detroit in the sense of like you know, creative scenes and things like that. There's not a lot of motion in St. Louis to begin with, and like there's not a lot of motion in Detroit, and to see that prosper outside of that and not like be in LA or, you know, New York was really inspirational for me. So that's been great to work with those guys. So yeah.
So speaking of your inspiration, do you actively like look for inspiration? How do you actively educate yourself? Like, are you constantly learning about things that you want to learn about? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's just something that's innate in me. Like, I'm always like looking, especially any project I start, I'm always looking for like inspiration, whether it's like, I use Pinterest a lot, and I have a Pinterest board. I have a lot of things on there where I just like, each project I do, I like create a Pinterest board, and you know, there's certain things that I see out in the world, but a lot of the stuff that I get from is like stuff I'm just like exploring on the internet, and I'm just trying to find stuff that's really cool, whether it's in like illustration or if it's in like, you know, I really like fashion and photography and things like that. So I think there's a lot of things that I take from, especially fashion. Wow. You know, I usually have like a lot of times I do characters, and I'm like, well, what are these characters look? What are they wearing? What are they? You know, it's usually something simple, but like I'm always looking at like what kind of clothes they should be wearing and what makes sense.
That's the difference. Like,
yeah, I would have never even thought about that.
Yeah, you can tell. Like, you can tell that. Like, now that I think about it, like that's the difference between your work and a lot of other people's. Is it's like, oh, they're dressed up like they're real people. Like, and like there's that attention to detail there. Like,
well, that's probably because of that.
That's dope. That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't even put that together, but that's exactly why. I'm like, because it seems like yours has like she said, it's like detail there, but there's also like the simplicity to it. But the detail you put in it makes it feel like you said, when they couldn't film because of the pandemic and they need artists to do animations, your animations look closer to probably what the real world life is. You're making people look like people.
Yeah, I mean, that's to a certain point, they look like people. They're kind of like crazy, but yeah, I think that's definitely part of it, is fashion, things like that.
That's dope.
I like that.
That was fashion. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. No, we always laugh. We're professionally awkward, because especially when there's three people, it's hard not to like talk over each other. It's like, everybody do an awkward silence. Who's going to talk first? Like,
yeah.
Do you mind if I ask another question, Kam?
No, do you think?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. So I love that you did a shout out for the people that have been like an inspiration for you. We are very, very big on community. That's why we even started this podcast. We realized that there was a gap in the industry when it came to talking literally about the nitty gritty, not the, you see everywhere, you see the schemes, you see the, how to make 10 grand in 1 month. Like, you see all that shit, but you don't see the, hey, this is what it looks like to be a freelancer. This is what it looks like to actually sit down and like get into the different styles of work. Like, we're talking to creatives all across the board. And so wanted to build a space where if people had questions, they could ask questions. If they didn't feel like they belonged anywhere, maybe they would belong with us. Our biggest thing, and we talk about it all the time, is either college dropouts or self-starters, or, people that didn't really think that they were going to be anything because they weren't matching the label of what society said was successful. And I don't, like you said, you didn't really know you were going to be an artist. I was always told photography was not going to make me money, so as an artist, kind of like being able to see other artists who are doing it is really freaking cool. So that being said, what does community mean to you? I know that you said it has been a really big influence on how you've gotten somewhere. Can you kind of talk to us about that a little bit?
For sure. I mean, I think that, especially I think the motion industry is a fairly, it's really new. It's not very old. So there's not a lot of people that are doing it.
Right.
And there's no one that's really old doing it, which is very rare. I'm like, I don't know who's going to be like 60 years old, like moving keyframes around or like drawing pictures like this. We haven't really seen it. So it's such a new thing. But I think that it being so small of a community, everyone is super like supportive. And, I think even when I wasn't like necessarily where I wanted to be in my career, the people that I looked up to and the people that I met that I really, that I was like, oh man, these are like the big shots doing this. They were all really nice and they're all super humble. I think that's one of the main things. No one's like has egos for the most part. I don't know. Most of them don't have egos, and they're all super supportive and kind of we all want each other to succeed. And I think that's the the big thing. And I think, you know, when I was first getting into motion, when I reached out, I was on like a board for AIGA, and I was really wanting to push motion in St. Louis. So like I like put together like a conference, and that was like in 2015.
Wow.
2015. And so I reached out to like one of these studios, Giant, and they like were really wanting to come. And this guy, Jorge, came down, and he like did a talk and everything. And I met some of my good friends from there, like Preston and Alex and things like that. I even met my significant other there. It was a very, very crazy time in my life. And so like, I think at this point he came down and he was talking about like this conference that he was doing, because Giant Ant is in Vancouver. And he was talking about this conference that he was putting together. And it was like, this was like in April. And he was saying like, this is happening in September. And it's like this motion conference, like a big motion party, 2-day conference thing. And it's called Blend. And he was throwing that. And so like, I didn't think I was going to go to that. And then somehow I ended up going to it. Like I found myself in Vancouver, like, oh, this place is great. Like I've been all these like crazy people that are like all the people. This was like, I was just new to the industry. So I didn't know, I knew all these people, but none of them knew me. And, you know, it's like those weird things where a lot of the people didn't know each other either, because they see each other's work, but they don't know who the people are. And so like, you'd see who they are and you talk to someone, they'd be like, oh, this person is doing this. They're cool though. So like, you never really knew who anyone was in a sense of like, I don't know, they were just like really approachable and everyone was nice. And that's kind of the community that I've like come like to be accustomed to, like just really nice people. And then I have like my home base, you know, which is a few people where we all kind of understand the same things. And, you know, we always, you know, communicate about the industry and things like that. And it's been I'm super grateful for it. Yeah.
Do you think you would have gotten as far or learned as much if you hadn't have had that community?
No. I mean, I think it's such a weird thing. It's like everyone's really open, but like being like, since I'm not in LA, I'm not in New York, where I'm not exposed to this, and there's not a lot of people here that actually do it. It's like we all kind of went through the same process, like where it's like, how do we get to that level? How do we do this? The places that we're working at, a lot of them are like, you know, they're video production companies. They don't focus on animation and things like that. So it was really challenging to figure out like and navigate that and try to understand like, what does it mean to make a really good motion piece? What does it mean to like, what's the process look like, you know, in a piece, you know, what does it mean to work on a big team of people and have everyone like do a part in it? You know, what are the hierarchies of like art direction, creative direction, you know, motion design, illustration? At a time early on, I didn't even know that like illustration was a real thing in animation. I thought that like motion designers just did it, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, I guess it's just motion designers. I didn't know that there was like, you could just solely do illustration in this industry.
That's dope.
But yeah.
That's great though.
That was a big rant. That was a long rant. Sorry.
No. I've been reading this book recently and it's talking about like just having that good, open, abundant type of mindset that is also in that is like a positive, like speaking to yourself in a positive way. Apparently, like the only way we can communicate with ourselves is through questions. So,
I've heard that.
Yeah. So we ask ourselves questions that reinforce how we actually like feel about ourselves. So if we ask ourselves a bunch of negative questions, we're going to end up in a negative tailspin. Yeah. Well, like they do it better than me. Well, I'll never be that like, just think about it in a negative way. You'll end up in a negative way. But you guys ask each other very positive. How do we get there? What does it look like? Yeah. What like very positive, open way. And that's usually how you get there is to be abundant, be open, not know what the answer is, but question yourself until you get to the right answer. So it's really cool to see like that's what's going through your guys' head instead of being so, man, we're small guys. We're never going to make it. We're never going to be there. It was just like the idea just being, let's just work on how to get there. The journey being the gift instead of the end being the gift. So.
I think that's really cool. That's exactly what I think there was never like a point to where I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get there. It was just more of like, how do I do it? Like, what do I gotta do? I think that's one of the things that like, it's just a drive, right? It's like you don't like give up to it. It's like you have like this expectation. And I think that expectation drives you to like try to figure it out. It's like I'm always curious. I'm always curious about like how things are done. Like how do I get to a certain level? Like what do I have to put in? What is the thing? And it's like that's what's the driving force. And I think that also has to do with like taste. And I think that I realized that not early on, but like one of the things I realized was like a lot of things that I'm doing is based on like my taste. I have this high standard for things. I may not be doing it myself, but like I understand like this is really good. I want to get there. And so everything I'm doing is kind of trying to like get me closer to like match my taste up, match my skills or what I'm doing up with the taste. So I think that you said what?
I feel that.
That's probably one of the things that are the most beneficial things to have is know where you are kind of, but like know where you kind of, have that taste, right? And I think it's something it's
like a standard. Have that standard. High. Like but you know what good looks like, and you need to like, how do you get yourself to where you want to be? And that's always changing. For me, that's always climbing. I wanted to always get better and better and better. So that's a great way to put it. Do you feel like even through, because we also talk about like a lot of institutions we were made to go through, predominantly schooling. Do you feel like you had that type of mindset when you were in high school or even before that?
No, about like the whole like standards thing.
Yeah, like moving yourself to standards or having that confidence in yourself to go for things. No, you're saying it as if it's like it's almost like the way you're stating it is like it's an easy thing, but a lot of people aren't like that.
Oh no, I'm gonna say this. A lot of people don't even know that's a thing. A lot of people don't even understand that's part of it, right? Yeah. I think a lot of that's when people get there is because they have that standard, they have that taste, and it's not just like, oh, I want to get there. It's like, well, are you making sure that what you're doing is going to get you there? Are you making the right decisions to at least, or try to make the right decisions? But I think that's definitely not like what I was thinking about in high school.
I don't think any of us were. I had some pretty crappy dialogue in high school. So
yeah, I don't think I was like, the funny thing is it's like, it's such like learning and like going through school and stuff like that, like college and things, and like kind of like evolving in this sort of like mindset it's been like a mindset more so than just like, I just want to do art. It's like, it goes into like different facets of my life, and I don't think I really appreciated like it's real cheesy like sunsets or like seeing the stars.
It's not
or like
it's not no, seriously, like I love that you guys brought up positive dialogue, because I try to listen. My best friend Emma, she sends me like positive affirmations like every single morning, like all these really cool videos. And one of the things that they talk about in almost every single video that I talk to you about, if you're wanting to change your life, if you're wanting to move forward, if you're tired of feeling stuck, you have to stop and think about how you talk to yourself. Because a lot of people don't realize that your brain cannot determine between a thought and an actual event. Like scientific proof. If you sit there and tell yourself over and over and over again, oh, that person doesn't like me, you're literally going to seek out information and probably find it because you're seeking for it and make it true. So your body, like our bodies, if we think about a trauma over and over again, our bodies have physical responses because that's what we did. So even though it's a memory, if we keep thinking about it over and over and over again, our brain and our body is going to relive it like it's actually happening right then and there. Yep. So when people talk down on themselves, or they say, oh, I'm never going to get anywhere, or, oh, things like that, your brain starts to believe it. They always say you have to be careful about what you say because your brain is always listening.
Which is crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Like
crazy. I didn't believe it. And then I've been reading this book, and then I've always heard the positive thinking thing, and I'm like, I don't know. That's a lot of patrolling. To have to patrol yourself all the time. Like I was like, I don't got time for that.
But people think they have like, you know, you were talking about sunsets and stuff.
Yeah.
People think that there's this much bigger thing to life, and in reality it's just enjoying what you literally have. It's just taking time to enjoy that cup of coffee in the morning. It's taking time to look outside and enjoy that sunset. Like I don't know. It's
You're talking you like, it sounds like the movie Soul. Like
yes.
That's what
oh, that was a great movie, and I reflected a lot on that, you know.
Yes.
Especially when
I didn't get it at first.
I think all adults should watch that freaking movie. I'm so serious.
Yeah,
my husband and I both cried at that movie.
I mean, it's a great message. You know, it's a message that I don't think I've really heard that same message before, especially in a movie like an animated piece like that. That's a very strong message there, you know. Yeah. And it's good.
I watched it and I was like, I don't know what was the goal of this. And then
Cameron is an engineer. Let me just start with that. Love you.
Did you get it now?
I had to sit down and talk to my wife about it, and then she was like, this is. She like walked me through it, and I was like, oh, okay. So I've been really working on that. Like, so that's what I was trying to get to, is like, I'm really working on trying to enjoy the small stuff, have gratitude for the little things, because like when I lost my job, all I had was my family. Like I see them every day now, and I'm so grateful that I do. Like we took my son to his first day of schooling yesterday. I was like, I'm a nervous wreck. I'm sure this kid's gonna cry because he's going to school for this first day. He walks into class, does not even care, but that's because he knows I'm coming back. Like that's because I've been such a staple in his life that he's not afraid that I'm not coming back. So
right.
And so that's the gratitude that I'm trying to take out of all of this and understanding the small things. So
good for you.
So you think schooling kind of helped you with that, like that questioning mindset? Like where did you?
That's a fine line. I mean, I don't think it's school. I think it's schooling for sure. I mean, I think it's just also my curiosity for the most part. You know, I think schooling. I remember I've had like some pinnacle points in where I feel like I've like grown like a lot, like, and I think it was just when I sat back and like really evaluated things. I remember like I was like in my like sophomore year in like college, and like we have like portfolio reviews, and like I like failed mine. I was like, man, it's like the part where like they like let you go on, but like they're gonna watch you and see if they're not gonna like tell you should do it. They're like, maybe you should think about some other options.
Yep.
You want to go on to you want to go and do something else? I don't know, accounting or something. You want to do that? No. But like it was like that thing, and I was like, man, it was like during a break. So like school was out. I failed it. I went over break. You know, it was like a couple months, and I was like, well, let me just figure out why the heck I failed to begin with. And so like I kind of just looked at like a lot of, this is where my path to like inspiration kind of happened, right? Or like to see, like this is my journey to taste. My taste started developing when I was like, I took that whole, I didn't really do anything as far as like making anything. I just like looked at a whole bunch of stuff that I really liked. Yeah. And I was like, this is dope, this is dope, this is dope. And I was like, how are they doing this? Like, what are they actually doing? And I started picking out like, oh, they're making this shape here. They're like, they're using these colors, they're simplifying this. They're, you know, adding this texture. Just kind of those things that are making the composition look good. Not necessarily the style of things, but like the composition, what's making it look good. This is before I started thinking about real narrative and stuff like that. That kind of happened later, where it's like, oh, what's the idea? Because the idea is a real driving force, not just what it looks like, but what's an idea? How do you make something really strong? Because you can see a really beautiful piece or really beautiful animation, but the ideal suffers and it like just it devalues the whole thing. Which I probably liken that a little bit to like branding in a sense. Like if you can make a really nice brand, but like if it's not what it needs to be, it's just like what's the point of that? It just doesn't work. You know,
it's all storytelling. It's all storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling.
Yeah. Even and that's where branding and kind of any type of art it's storytelling. You're just trying to tell a solid story. And you're right. Like when you start at the beginning, you're just like, well, how did I even make this stuff work? Like it's like trying to understand Illustrator for the first time. It's like, how do I even use these tools? And then you can use the tools as like your paintbrush, but at the beginning you don't know. I used to I definitely that parallels how I started doing stuff, because I was like, okay, I like branding. What are these people doing? So they would put out the little like time-lapse clips of them working. I would record them on my phone and then slow them like and watch the videos back slow motion so I can see what buttons they're pushing, what is really going on the screen while they're doing this stuff. And I did that for a while without doing any actual work. I was just learning how to yeah,
that's what it takes when you don't have like, that's what I mean about like going, like if you go to like, if I went to like SCAD or something like that, or you know, a different like really art school in a sense of like top art school, like you're gonna learn that stuff there. As far as like you're gonna have a lot, you're gonna be open to a lot more. You don't have to figure all those things out. So like being in a place like St. Louis where there's not a lot of that, and you really, or you're not going to school in that sense, it's like where you really have to like rely on yourself and kind of like just learn it on your own.
Right.
Which is, I know it's a good thing, I think, because you like pretty much go, like if you have someone tell you what to do, even if you're about to say it's a bad thing, if you go to like a really good school and like people from the jump are like telling you how to do things and you're figuring out that way. Like I had to go through all the wrong ways. Yeah. It like completely exhausts all of those things. And then and then when I start to get something, it's like I feel like I understand it and I get it. I understand why those other things don't work. And I also appreciate like more, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. No, because and that's where it's like I remember like when I was in engineering school and I would have certain I would have like homework or whatever, and you go do the homework with other people and they give you the answers and it's like, okay, it's done. But when you would have to struggle, there's like a little beauty in the struggle, and then you get to the end, you're like, I really understand this. Like I have a full concept of how this works. And it's like you have like a mutual respect for it. Like, and that's work, like homework, but I think this is more beautiful than homework. Like to figure out how to do this stuff on your own and know what you're into and what your style is going to be is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it definitely takes, it takes a want to do it, because like it's not, it's like I feel like it's a gift and a curse sometimes for me, because I'm just too infatuated with things, and that just it like goes into all things of my life. Like like the other day, like I got this we have a cat, and I wanted to get her new cat dishes.
Oh, you're a good cat dad.
But I was like, man, I want these to look kind of nice. So like I literally spent, I don't even know how much time I spent looking for these things. I lost track, but like I couldn't find one I really liked it. It was months. It was months just looking for some cat dishes. You know, and I'm
just like telling people, I've been looking for cat dishes for months. If anybody knows, let me know.
Listen, I have a very hard time cutting out noise. I get so excited about 1,000 different things, and I'm like, ooh, here, oh, shiny. Like, stop, wait, what do I actually want? So, okay, I do have a question. How have you dealt with being told no? Have you been told no before? And like, what did you do after that?
No.
Well, I mean, like, have
no,
you ever,
in what sense?
Huh?
Like being like my mom told me no all the time.
Like rejection.
I mean, like professional,
like professional rejection.
Yeah, professional rejection. Thank you.
You can take
okay.
Like that you really wanted to work for, and they were like, better not. You know, like things like that.
Yeah, that happens a lot. That's not like, I mean, it was something. I mean, I learned that in school for sure, because like rejection, or not just saying no, but just like criticism in general, is something like half the stuff I do is always getting changed. Like I'll send it off, I'll spend some time. I've learned not to be so attached to things where it's like, this is work. I'm doing this for, this is what this is. I'm not attached to it. I'm doing it for someone else. And when I do it, they're gonna have something to say about it. And a lot of times it's not good. A lot of times it's like redo it. But the more I do it, the better, the closer I get to like where it needs to be. I've gathered like there's not, a lot of times there's not it's always that worry of like, what are they gonna say? But like, the more I do it, the closer I get to it on the first try. So it doesn't have to have like all these crazy, like, no, this ain't working, that type thing. But yeah, I mean, you know, I've sent out a lot of like messages to people. Like, that's when I was still working at the place I was working, just to you know, reach out to them and stuff. But I didn't get a lot of responses back, or I think that's a no for me.
Yeah.
Not getting a response or things like that. And it's I mean, I get them now. So like some people I've reached out to a long time ago, and then it's not. I don't say like maybe they're just busy. They could be busy because I'm busy, and sometimes I don't respond to people all the time. Right. And which I try to respond to people when I can, but like, you know, sometimes I'm like really busy and I can't do it. Yeah. But you know, I don't really see that as a negative thing. It's just like, well, I'm gonna go find where that yes is. I'm gonna get that yes somewhere else.
That's awesome. Well, because I feel like for some artists, and sometimes for me too, like sometimes a no can be extremely detrimental. Like it's like we put so much worth in what people think about our work, what they think of us as an artist, you know, things like that. So what would you tell the artist that is scared of that no?
It's something you have to be conscious of. I think it's something that you have to realize that. Well, if you go back to Soul,
if we go back to the movie, this is
go back to Soul, and when they talk about your spark is not your passion, right? So like they're not the same thing. So like you put your all into something, but like people are individuals. They don't have to like what you do, right? There's plenty of people that don't like what I do. Or, you know, there's plenty of people that like think what I'm doing is crap, you know, like there is. It's just,
oh my gosh.
I mean, there's all kinds of people out there. I think that you just kind of have to, I mean, it's a tough thing. I mean, sometimes, you know, especially the more I start doing bigger projects, the more that I realize like, oh, this is getting more exposure. That means I leave myself open to more criticism and things like that. Which definitely happens, right? And I just kind of like try to let it roll off, you know, try not to think about it. It's not something you can just alleviate as far as like, I mean, it just don't affect me at all. But
yeah,
you have to like realize that like at the end of the day, it's, I mean, this picture I drew or whatever I did, I mean, it's just it's something that was cool, but like for me, but may not be for someone else for whatever reason.
I liked what you said earlier, though, where you're like, the more that you do it, like the more you flex that muscle and stretch that, it's going to get easier and easier. And it sounds like you're using your no as an opportunity to grow, to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to mislead as far as like easier. Yeah. It's not easy, and right. I think the thing is, which I feel like with anyone that wants to like get to the top of whatever they're doing, whatever industry or whatever their passion is, to get when making it to that top of that, which just means that it's more work. It's more work. It's more challenging. It's more stressful in a sense. But like you get better, you get comfortable with this. You get more comfortable with it. Like you've done it so many times, you know that you can trust it. A lot of times when you start out, it's like, oh man, is this going to work out? Is this project? I still get that too. Like I start a project and I'm like, oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna do for this. But I trust the process enough to know that it's going to, I've always done it in the past.
Yeah. You'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
Something that's
might be crazy.
It's kind of like, and this is probably advice to myself, is like kind of if you take that no and you get upset about it, that stunts your growth. Like you're not, like you said, if you take a no as like we're growing, we're getting better, and you keep going and there's more work to be done, then it doesn't, what does it hinder? It doesn't hinder anything. It just happens. It's just an occurrence. But if you take it and you pout about it and you get upset about it and it stops you, you just lost that amount of time you're pouting. Like you could have been getting better in that moment, but you're pouting about it, kind of thing.
That's definitely it. I think anytime that I feel like I've done, like I didn't do, like I messed up, right? Like I made a mistake, or something didn't pan out, or there was a no, or it's never like, I might not pouting about it. I'm more of like, not necessarily beating myself up, but I'm always like, okay, how do I make this? How do I change this? Right. How do I make this to where this is better? And I think it's growing in a sense. It's like being uncomfortable. And like, I think if I'm on a project, which happens all the time, and I'm experiencing something new, then I'm gonna spend the extra time on it, whether I'm getting paid on or not, to figure it out. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't want to do. It's like, well, this is what I'm getting paid for. Well, like, what, if you want to figure this out, you gotta put the time in and figure it out, right? So like, otherwise, there's been plenty of times where if I would have just like did my normal working out, I probably would have been let go of a job because I didn't know what I was doing. It'd be different if I like already knew it. Like if I was on a project and I'd done this before and the creative's just bad. But like if I'm on something that's new for me and it's a new experience, I'm trying to learn it, and they're putting me in a position to where I have to do this thing, then I'm gonna put in the time that's gonna take to achieve that or grow in that. Wow. So
yeah,
I think that's great.
That's awesome. This is such a good interview. Marco, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Holy cow. Do you have any other questions, Kam?
I think I'm good. He answered all the ones I had.
Good. I think I think a lot of this is I was watching. Have you heard about Cole's new album supposed to drop today? Yeah,
Jake, I think it's tomorrow.
Is it?
It's tomorrow. I thought it was today.
J. Cole?
Oh yeah, tomorrow. What's today? 13th.
Oh, yeah, that's
I don't even know what the days are. Yeah, it drops on the 14th. I thought the day was. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it drops tomorrow. But like I watched this like little documentary about it.
Yeah, I did too.
And I'm like, man, there's so many parallels in that sense of like, being uncomfortable. And,
I got
like,
chills. Being
complacent and like he's talking about doing features. He didn't want to do features. Now he's like, I'm gonna take features, even if it's something that's like scary. I think that's something that you should, if you go make it in something and do something, that those were all good things. And that apply to like anything in life as far as like how you're trying to make it, in that sense.
Yeah, I watched it yesterday. I think it came out on Monday.
Yeah, I watched it yesterday.
I got chills watching it because he was like, this was 2016. He was on. He had made it, but he was like, no, I'm gonna take myself back to where I started. I'm gonna live in the house, and I'm gonna I think it was every morning for like a month. He was like, I'm gonna write a feature every morning.
Wow. He's working on it. It's not just like letting it come. It's like
right.
He's like, if I use it, I use it. But this is where I get better. And doing this every day, this is where I get better. And I got chills.
Ooh, I just got chills.
It's true. It's true, man. It's like, you imagine doing, especially if you like working on branding or working on like any work, it's like those clients are not going to be ready to like, I'm not feeling it today. I ain't got the inspiration today. You got to perform. It's like you have to do this, and you might be having an off day, but you have to keep working that. And I think that's a thing. And being comfortable once you like feel like you somewhere, and like that's where I was talking about, where like I don't want to be too complacent as far as like the styles that I'm doing. I want to switch things up. I want to try different things. I don't want to get too comfortable in that. I think that's I'm nowhere near J. Cole. So
hey, one day. If you got the mentality, you one day can be.
It's the mentality. That's what it is.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Marco, is there anything that you want to say to a young artist that started where you were?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the whole be curious thing. I think that I've learned a lot since I've been doing this, and I'm always learning stuff. And I think that's probably the one thing you can take from it. It's just kind of be curious and keep learning. I think people say that a lot, but it's like really true. It's like, if you don't have that, then you're never going to really, those lead you to find the answers, to the answers that you want. It might take a long time. You might spin your wheels a little bit, but if you really have that drive and really want to get there, you're gonna find a way to do it if you have that. And I think it's figure out that standard. Trust that and know that you can make money in this industry. I think a lot of people don't think that that's true, but that shouldn't be your main goal. But like, if like you're thinking, I don't want to do this because I don't think I can support my family. That's not the case. If you put the time and effort in, then you can get there. I think that's the real thing, and have the drive for it, because it's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, I feel like freelancing is definitely not for the faint of heart.
No.
I've been humbled several times over the last year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how different it is for like doing like photography and things like that. But because I think last year, my first year, I like overbooked myself like completely. I think you probably could do that as well, right?
Oh,
and
yeah, I did. And I was like, oh my gosh. I couldn't even think straight. I overbooked myself so bad.
Yep. It's a challenge. It's just trying to figure it out. And, you know, it makes sense because like, oh, well, like, where's the next money going to come from? If I don't get this job, but like, you know, it's tough.
It is. Yeah, I always try to tell people, hey, if you can, save up a little nest egg before you jump into being a freelancer, because if you have a nest egg, you can focus on your process. You don't have to jump in and say, okay, when's my next paycheck coming from? You can focus on the gears that run the business versus trying to scrounge for money. Because as soon as I got out of high school, that's what I was doing. My photography paid for my college. It paid for my wedding. It paid, literally everything that I have, my photography paid for. But like, it's awesome. I was able to do it. You know, there were some months where it was like, okay, where is the money going to come from? Hey, it's December. Nobody really wants to take pictures outside in the snow. You know, what can I do to still bring in that money? But when you focus on that, that's when you get the burnout. That's when you're not like paying attention to the processes that actually your business needs to function. Yeah. So yeah, definitely try to have like a little bit of a plan before you
I think a little bit, but you can't plan. I think that's probably one of the best advice that I've gotten was like, obviously you can't really plan for it, save up, but like you have to take that. There's not gonna be a perfect time to do it. So you have to do it at some point and do it. And you're gonna have that fight or flight thing where it's like you're gonna either make
or swim. Let's go.
Make or swim. And I think that's you kind of need that drive. It gives you drive, you know. So yeah.
That's dope. I've liked this interview a lot. Marco, do you have anything you want to promote?
Yeah. Tell us.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want.
You got any prints? You got anything you want to go ahead, dude?
Where can people find you?
I don't have no promos.
I saw you just did a school of motion class. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a class. It was just more of a just a tutorial, quick tutorial. You should check. That's probably one of the things I like, resources. Like that's probably one of the things now I would say is like, if you're trying to get into like motion and things like that, there's plenty of resources out there. Like if you're in a place that, if you're going to school, if you don't really have like that being offered, like School of Motion is great. There's a lot of online places that you can take courses that are relatively inexpensive, and there's a lot of resources. You know, there's Wine After Coffee, which is a great resource for seeing like the best like animations that come out in general. School of Motion, Motionographer, things like that. They've always been there. Those have all been influential in like my progression and things like that. But yeah, I did the School of Motion thing, but yeah, I guess it's something I should promote for sure. I was like, well, I ain't got nothing. I'm just here.
I'm here. I'm hanging out.
I'm trying to get some stuff off, but like, it's been tough, but hopefully that'll happen soon.
Let them know where they can find you so we can watch that happen too. So where can we find you at? Yeah,
man, you can just, my Instagram is probably the best way to like, that's the most up-to-date thing. And I think it's Marco .cheats, which is part of my last name. That's my Instagram handle. Okay. But yeah, you can have all the information on there is from that.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's good to see you. It's been a long time. And I didn't know people in St. Louis. I haven't been out to Phoenix, but you're in Phoenix, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I was like tripping, but yeah. Yeah, you can make it out there too. Maybe not when it's like 100 degrees. So
it'll come in the winter when it's freezing everywhere
when it's
else.
70.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Yeah, I'm trying to live more of a nomad life because me and my stepbrother we're both freelance. So like I'm trying to like I have a house here, just go out and live where I want.
That's how I want to live too. I just want to.
That's the plan.
And I think as the art, you have to have inspiration. And that's going to take getting in the world. You got to get in the world. So.
Yeah, you got to see. You got to get that culture. Soak it
in. For sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, Marco, seriously, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us. We really, really appreciate it. It was really nice catching up with you.
Yep.
For sure.
So, yeah, guys, you guys can find Marco. We'll put up his little Instagram handle and you guys can go on there and check him out. Seriously, his work is phenomenal. We're very excited to have him here on the podcast. I don't know who's saying your work isn't, but we might have to send them like a bag of dicks or something. So
just keep on the internet.
Have you seen them? They're really cool. Anyway, will you guys sponsor our podcast? Thank you for watching Wisdom by Design. My name is Jessa.
Cameron.
And our friend Marco here. And we will see you guys. We will see you guys later.
Yeah. Awesome, and we have a Jessa.
I'm so sorry. I do this every single time.
Time.
If you guys want to see more crazy behind the scenes, if you want to see how foul my mouth can actually be, follow us and join us on Patreon. We did create a Patreon because, we wanted to have our community, and you guys, this podcast isn't free. So anybody that wants to support us, that would be freaking awesome. We're just going to be realistic here. But yeah, we're definitely, we have a lot of really cool content that we're not posting anywhere else. It's only on Patreon. So if you want to hang out with us a couple times each month, that's where we will be. So it's just Wisdom by Design podcast on Patreon.
It's Wisdom by Design pod. I don't know why I changed it.
Link thing. I don't know.
Man. Messing up, man. They're branding together.
I know everything else.
Branding up.
I know.
Cool.
Design pod, but it'll be on the bottom. I'll put it on the bottom of the screen.
Right there.
Down there. Right there. All right. All right. Thank you, Marco. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
No problem, man. Thank you, guys.
All right. Peace. All right. Done recording.